East Los Angeles. In the 1960s, this was home to almost 100,000 Mexican Americans. It was the largest barrio in the United States.
Growing up in East Los Angeles, I wasn't actually aware of it as a young child, but it soon became apparent that I grew up in a very isolated, very segregated neighborhood, a community that was totally separate from the rest of Los Angeles.
Education was seen as a way to break down those barriers, a way for young people to one day have what everyone else had.
I was buying into this whole thing about the American dream. Get an education, you can be whatever you want to be, and you know, read all these books and listen to the teachers. Even though at the back of my mind I was saying, something's going on here, you know. The reality that I see here is different from what you're saying.
Something was definitely wrong. Only 1 out of 4 Chicanos completed high school.
The dropout rate was really kind of what some people called a push-out rate. I mean, these were students who were being pushed out of school because their needs weren't being met, their culture was not addressed, the school really wasn't doing anything for them.
Unemployment was almost double the national average. Those who worked earned about 2/3 of what other Los Angeles residents earned. These conditions had a dramatic impact on Mexican-American children.
I started elementary school in the early 1950s, and I was the only student in my kindergarten class that was a monolingual Spanish-speaking child. And I was immediately led to the front of the class, and I was instructed on how to create a cone hat out of construction paper. The teacher painted a word on it and told me I could take it off when I learned to speak English, and the word she had painted on that was the word Spanish.
I remember going to elementary school, taking my tacos of frijoles and meat and rice and being made fun of by the other kids in junior high especially, to the point where I didn't want to take tacos de carne to school. I wanted to take bologna sandwiches.
I remember feeling ashamed, you know, when my father would go to school because he didn't speak good English, and translating for him. Feeling ashamed of being Mexican, and which fed this growing anger in me. And I think those same things were, you know, infecting everyone else, and everyone responded in a different way. The burden was pretty heavy, you know, in terms of the shame of not feeling that your parents were worth anything because the teachers in the schools treated them like children.
There were clear signs of prejudice and discrimination.
I remember vividly when I was an honor student being asked by the white counselor what my father did for a living, and me telling her, well, you know, he's a laborer, you know, he works with his hands. And then she told me, and I'll never forget this, these were the exact words, that is a very honorable profession. You should follow in your father's footsteps.
My homemaking teacher, she would say, you know, you little Mexicans, you better learn and pay attention. This class is very important because, you know, most of you are going to be cooking and cleaning for other people.
It was real clear to me that there was a definite tracking system. Some students went into the academia tracking and were being prepared to go to college. Others were being tracked into going into the shop classes, into the vocational areas. It wasn't that there was anything wrong with that, but you didn't have a choice. You were tracked into those areas.
Students were grouped into the classes, generally based on some kind of ability rating. Usually it was IQ. The lower groups didn't get the same benefits and also didn't get the same support for going to college.
Gradually, these students realized they were not alone in their frustrations.
I heard that there were many more students who had the same kind of yearning and anger and desire to do something with their lives and not be stereotyped and pegged into being some sort of commodity for labor.
A lot of us had the same sort of complaints about what was happening in our lives as far as our education. So we decided to take a survey.
That's when we start to gather that information and start interacting with the school district saying, you're not meeting our needs. And look at, people are saying they don't get college advisements. Kids are saying that they get pushed out of school, that discipline is not fair. They went from better food all the way to, we want to go to college.
We have the lowest reading rate in East LA, in the East Side schools. We have graduates that graduate from high school, that graduate, that are in the 12th grade, that graduate and are out to face the world and can only read 8th and a 9th grade reading level. And we believe this is a crisis.
We were just being passed because of our age and nothing else. So they really didn't care if we learned how to read or we knew how to spell or anything else like that. It was just a matter of, okay, just go.
I think the bottom line is the lack of concern of the teachers towards the kids and whether the kids were really getting an education or not. The reality set in that teachers weren't really concerned for the kids.
Students called for bilingual instruction, Mexican-American history courses, an end to corporal punishment, and the hiring of more Mexican-American teachers and counselors. Their efforts transformed America's understanding of what was meant by civil rights. They presented their demands to the Los Angeles School Board.
They felt like we were not counseling them, but we're trying to have them go into industrial arts. Well, that wasn't true at all. We were trying our best to get as many to go into a four-year school as would.
What can we do when we do not have the actual authority to control what the whole of society is doing? If we could distribute everybody equally and have equal funds everywhere and have equal quality of teachers, there would be no problem.
They patted us on the back, and my recollection was that they literally just threw away the results of our survey. And that began to politicize us.
The students were facing a problem that had for years caused concern within their community. As early as the turn of the century, Mexican-American families called for educational reform. They protested the segregation of their children in so-called Mexican schools, where teachers severely punished Mexican-American students for speaking Spanish in the classroom.
Keep in mind that the Spanish language for many Mexicans is almost a characteristic of being Mexican. It's a defining characteristic, not an incidental characteristic.
Young children were taught that the culture of their community, of their parents, was really a hindrance to success. If a child learned these kinds of things, he began then to look upon his cultural background, upon his parents, upon his community in a negative way.
So you treat them and you teach them at the lowest common denominator of labor and how to use your hands. And you get them out into the fields and into jobs as quickly as possible. That was the Mexican experience in schools.
By 1946, parents in Santa Ana, California were fed up. They filed suit against local school officials and won. Mendez versus the Westminster School District declared the segregation of Mexican-American children to be unlawful. It set the stage for the landmark U.S. Supreme Court decision Brown versus Board of Education, which declared segregated schools unconstitutional throughout the United States. Despite this ruling, segregated schools remained, and even in integrated settings, Mexican-American students still suffered from neglect and unequal resources.
The end result of this is that the Mexican children were given an inferior education, which prepared them for menial kinds of positions and jobs as cheap laborers, the kinds of positions that their parents filled.
Our greatest resource is the skill and the vision and the wisdom of our people. If your education falters or fails, everything else that we attempt as a nation will fail. If you succeed, America will succeed. Over half of all the Mexican-American children have less than 8 years of school. How long can we pay that price?